All right, welcome to another edition of Women in Music South Africa. Today we are in conversation with Tumi Mogapi from SAMRO. Tumi, if you could kindly introduce yourself to our viewers and tell them what it is that you do before we get started.
Thank you so much, Tire, for this opportunity. I really appreciate it, especially at a time like this when we're all stuck at home. Somehow I felt like I was going out. Like, yay, something different is happening today.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like you said, I'm from SAMRO, and I basically, take charge of the publisher services department. So I literally just make sure that, my team is happy and the music publishers are happy as well. There's a whole lot of operational stuff that happens within that. But for background purposes, I started working at Norm, which is now Capasso, dealing with the mechanical rights side of things. Norm was also a collecting agency, just like SAMRO, but just dealing with a different right. And then I moved on to Gallo Music Publishers, strictly on the publishing business, just to also get some experience around that and get to understand it holistically. Then I moved to Sheer Publishing, which is also music publishing business. And then after that, I landed myself at SAMRO. So basically still within the publishing space, but this time around just taking care of all publishers in South Africa.
Okay, so what is publishing, first of all?
Okay, so music publishing, I would say there are some similarities to, like book publishing. But the only difference is that, this time around it's music. This time around we're dealing with lyrics and, the music production side of things. So it's basically the melody, the music itself, and also the lyrics that go with that, if there are lyrics, in a song. So basically, you start with the creation of it. So obviously there needs to be a creator, the person that will make the music. And thereafter then that's when, the right is born. And that's where one would then need to make a decision as to, okay, who handles this right? Do I assign it to somebody else to take care of it? Or do I self-publish myself, So a lot of people would normally, especially with busy creators who are more busy on the performing side of things, they would normally elect for, a music publisher to actually take care of the administration of that right, or to even take care of that right entirely. And there, with that decision, then there comes in, the decision as to, okay, what are the terms of assigning these rights? Do I want this publisher to take care of these rights for life of copyright, or is it for 3 years? Or, then you look at those terms, and basically then you look at the earnings then that come with that. How do we then deal with that? Do we split it, 50-50, or 80-20, whatever the decision might be, obviously based on as well the amount of responsibility then that will lie with that publisher. If they position themselves to get to do more work with regards to exploiting your works and making sure that you do get some earnings for your work, then as a business sense, they would then obviously take a huge cut, because they get to invest a lot into making sure that the work is exploited so that you can earn from it. But then if the groundwork has already been done and the work is already there, it's out there, it's being used, you are established already, it wouldn't then make sense for you to negotiate something that will have more money or more earnings coming to you. So where you get a bigger cut as a creator, you know, so it all depends on really the catalogs and the music, like where has it been already? Is it already out there? Is it being exploited out there? Like where is it positioned in order for one to then negotiate those terms? But in a nutshell, I think just to explain it, that's basically, you know, what music publishing is about. It's about, getting the rights from the creators and then seeing and finding ways or business ways to actually get the works exploited so that you can then earn more money, you know.
When you mention the word exploited, it doesn't necessarily with to someone who's new in the industry, exploitation does not sound right. Because, you know, when I'm a newcomer, when you mention exploitation, I'm thinking somebody who's taking advantage of me. Can you just explain that term to somebody who does not necessarily understand, you know, the industry industry lingo?
Okay, so in our industry, I suppose I would call it as our jargon. It's a term that we use, you know, basically to explain the usage of the music. So this is, you know, meaning that you would have a music user or somebody who is a user taking the work and using it also for their business, you know, or for their use in order so that they can also, you know, make money out of their business by using your work to create whatever ambience, to create whatever environment they want to create. So that's why I think the worldwide use of exploitation within our industry basically explains that, you know, that you would have somebody else using your creation for their business or to make more money from their business.
So it's got absolutely nothing with taking advantage of people like we would understand it as newcomers in the industry, like my manager is exploiting me or the label is exploiting me. It does not have that that negative connotation.
No, not at all. Actually, we like exploitation.
Yes.
Because then it means we can go after, you know, getting money or making more money.
Yes.
Where it becomes bad is where someone then, you know, exploits your creation without getting permission. So that's where it becomes bad, where someone is not licensed, but they're just going willy-nilly and just using music without getting in touch with the creators and asking for permission. Like for instance, you know, let's say a digital site would then just start popping up and you can stream music and download music, but yet they haven't even like gone as far as getting a license from a collecting society, or even getting then in touch with you directly as the creator to say, yo, I wanna, you know, put your music up on my site. So already that's a no-no, that's bad. We actually call it infringement. That's bad exploitation.
Okay, we're learning the terms. So now when we come to SAMRO, what is SAMRO's role in the South African music industry or in the music industry globally if it goes beyond the South African borders? What do I need to know as a young person coming into the industry? Because I'm told you need to register your song with SAMRO, but I don't understand. Why do I need to register my song with SAMRO?
Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, I think it's just that from the beginning as to why SAMRO was formed, so that people can actually understand how this thing works. So I think creators at the time, this was like 1960 something, they decided, you know, it's obviously like very hard dealing with licensees, you know, or broadcasters or the radio stations in terms of like getting your royalties from the music that they use on their channels. You know, where do you even start? You know, how do you go about that? So the idea was, well, think about it. If you had a middleman who has creators as members, meaning that the creators would then assign their performance rights to this middleman, then the middleman would then have more power to negotiate licenses with radio stations and TV stations and so on and so forth, especially where there is bulk usage of music, you know. So the whole point is, you know, as that middleman, you can actually knock on the broadcaster's door and be like, yo, I'm representing 90% of South African music, which obviously then, you know, that would form part of the music that you are using. Let's talk about how do we then get to blanket license your usage so that you don't also have the stress of now contacting all those creators and making sure that you are not exploiting their music in a bad way, you know? So that's when, you know, that's how SAMRO was formed, basically. Because anyway, it's something that is happening worldwide as well. You have, you know, societies all over the world taking care of the performing rights of the creators. So it was then decided that there is a need for a South African society to then take care of, you know, the creators. So the reason why also it becomes important for someone who's a creator to make sure that they are a member of a society, and it doesn't have to be SAMRO necessarily. So it is just important to be a member of any society so that your works can be recognized wherever in the world, because all the societies that are recognized are under one umbrella. There's a governing body called CSAC, which basically governs how we operate as a society to make sure, you know, that our governance is on point and we are operating the way that we should be. So what's nice about that is that when a society is under that umbrella, there's one database where we get to load, you know, all the creators' works. So every society is literally like dumping all their songs on that database. And when you are signed to a society as a creator, you get an IPI number that's allocated to you. So this unique number identifies you as a rights holder, and it basically says that you own this work. And when we load all those works on the CSAC database, you know, all the societies are also able to identify a rights holder, you know, by using that IPI number. So if your work gets played in France, for instance, it makes it easier for the society in France to recognize that, oh, Tiwe, you know, by looking at the IPI, Tiwe is actually a member of SAMRO, and then they would then send those earnings to SAMRO. So it's very important to be a member of a society, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a member of a society in your country. But then again, the advantages of that is that when you are a member of a society in your country, whatever licenses are whatever, you know, secured in that country. So if there's a license with SABC, for instance, with the society in South Africa, then they are able to then send the money directly to you if you are a member of the society in South Africa. And, you know, unlike if you were a member of a society in France, for instance, then SAMRO would get the check from SABC, and then they would have to send it to the society in France for you to get, you know, your royalties. So think about that. Already there's admin fees that will be taken from one society to another, and the currency exchange rate as well. You need to factor that in order for you to get your royalties. So that's why it always just makes sense for a creator to be a member of a society within their territory or in their country, because then it means that whatever licenses that society is able to secure in that territory, the money would be coming to you directly.
Okay. So the word creator keeps popping up in your explanations. And
Yeah.
I think it's something that a lot of young people might not necessarily understand. I get into a studio my very first time, and I'm doing a song with DJ Smama from, you know, a small town somewhere. The song becomes a hit. He made the music, and I wrote the song, and he said he was going to register the song with, you know, collecting societies in South Africa. Number one, does that make me a creator? And then number two, is it advisable to trust or enlist the services of someone to actually register your work for you on with all these collecting societies? Or is it just better for me to go onto the SAMRO website or any other collecting society's website and register the work myself? What is the best option?
Yeah. Okay, so to explain, you know, the term creator, especially in this environment or in this, what can I say? Like, because I've positioned myself, you know, with regards to just talking about performance rights. So when you think SAMRO, you just need to think performance rights. So the creator, when it comes to performance rights, would then be talking about, you know, the songwriters. Okay, so someone who has created the music or someone who has written the lyrics to that song, the lyrics that accompany the music. So when I say creator, I'm purely talking about that. I'm not talking about session artists, I'm not talking about an artist. You could be both an artist and a creator, but in SAMRO's world, a creator is basically someone who has either written the music or the lyrics. So in other words, a songwriter. I think also a songwriter is like fitting. So I like the word creator because it refers to someone who started something from scratch. Yeah, because you know, there's a whole lot of confusion as well. I've seen, like, the minute you say composer, people don't know, okay, are you talking about an author? Are you talking about a producer? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So yeah, I often refer to creator just so that we can base it back to the people that were involved in the creation, the people that were involved in creating the music from scratch or the lyrics from scratch. But purely when you're in SAMRO's environment, we're literally talking about songwriters.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other question again was, is it best to allow someone or to you know, rely on someone to actually register your songs for you? I find that it's always better, you know, to make sure that you also access SAMRO, because as a songwriter member, you also have the rights to actually, you know, be in touch with SAMRO and communicate with SAMRO. And often what happens is that when people rely on other people to register their works for them, sometimes it creates problems where then in the future someone finds out that, you know, it wasn't done, and at that point in time they're not getting their royalties, they're angry at SAMRO as well, you know, and we always say the onus is on you as the member to make sure that your works are registered. But I do understand that, you know, sometimes things can get hectic, and creators are not really, you know, some creators are not really good with paperwork and the admin stuff and all of that, you know, in the midst of everything. So what I always say is that, okay, if you're relying on someone to actually do the admin for you, the best thing as well is to get on the portal and search for your works, because you actually can. So we've improved the portal in a way that you can actually search all the works that are on the SAMRO database. And also you can also search works to see if someone has registered works on your behalf. So anywhere where you appear on the works, it will actually show. So yeah, so the best thing would actually be to also, you know, just check as much as you've given someone that responsibility, but also then just follow up, on your end, and just make sure, you know, yeah.
And now when you talk about your works, you know, checking up on your works, whether it appears on your on the SAMRO database or any other collecting society's database, the question again, as a newcomer, because you're talking to me as somebody who knows nothing about the industry, right? The question now gets to that I see, you know, coming up a lot is who then decides the splits between, let's say, if there's 2 or 3 people that are involved in the creation of the song. So let's say there are 2 composers, you know, and they are 2 authors, or there's one of each. Like, how does SAMRO decide on the split, or do we decide on the split as the people that are involved in the creation? Or if there's disagreements, or if, let's say, for example, the producer, the beat maker, the composer, right?
Yeah.
The composer, you know, registered, let's say 70-30, with them receiving 30, 70%, and then me receiving 30%. And then when I go register, I register, let's say 50-50 or 60-40, 60 to my benefit and 40 to their benefit. How does then SAMRO come in and say, but here's one song, or here's one creation that was registered by 2 different people, and this, the royalty splits are not the same?
Okay. So the first part, with, you know, addressing the splits, the share splits, it's very important, you know, especially for newcomers, to know this. This is a very important and very crucial question. It's very important for creators to know that once a song is done, there should be an agreement between all the parties that were involved in the song as to what the splits are. And I always encourage for people to put it down on paper and get it signed by all the parties. So it could be a share split agreement that we have on our site. We've got like a template, you know, that our members can use, so that you make sure that what is so important about getting people to actually sign that share split form right there and then, and when everyone is registering the works, then you don't get into a situation where there are disputes, where there's conflicts, you know, and someone saying, yeah, but I think, you know, I deserve 80% for whatever reasons. So it's always important. I know normally people, you know, are just excited in the moment. The song is great. It sounds great. Yo, let's push it. Let's get it out there. No one is thinking about, okay, what does this actually mean for me? What was my contribution in this? What do I deserve as a share split? And that conversation is very important right from the start, you know, because when the song becomes a hit, trust me, it is late at that moment to have that conversation. It is way late. I've seen it so many times, and I'm talking about big hits, not even like, you know, top charting hits, you know. And at that point, it's very late. You can even get to a situation where you now have to compromise, you know, just to get it sorted out, you know. So it's very important to make sure that when the song is being pushed, you know, the splits are agreed on more than anything else. I mean, I've seen a beautiful practice that is happening in the States, where digitally, for a song to be released by a major label, they will contact all the parties involved, even the publishers, make sure that everyone signs off before it even goes, before it's even released digitally, before it goes on your Spotify and your iTunes. If no one is agreeing, trust me, they will not release it. So we also need to, start taking ownership and realize, especially for creators, that this is your bread and butter, especially for people who are producers who don't get to perform. This is a big deal, It's important to make sure that conversation is heard and it's done, and before a song is released, everyone agrees, everyone has signed. Then in that way, you will not have any issues. But in an instance where you have different people notifying SAMRO and they're notifying different splits. So number one, like I've said, it's very important for a SAMRO member to get on the portal and to also see what other people are notifying on their behalf, right? In that way, then they can alert SAMRO and let them know, like, okay, I saw this notification, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that. But also in our process, we do have a conflicts policy that dictates how we should deal with conflicts. So, normally it can even go to, we try and sort it out first amongst, the rights holders, probably like via round robin, like on email, and see if it can be sorted out. If it's not sorted out, then in that forum, then what happens is it then goes to the mediation process, where it becomes a mediation meeting and we get all the parties in one room and still try and resolve. If that does not work, then it gets handed over to arbitration. But we always try and avoid that because there are costs involved with going for arbitration. So I think the most important thing is, like I said, for everyone to try and agree before the song goes out in terms of who contributed what share split belongs to who. I mean, if Rihanna, who uses like 10 songwriters, can do it, surely we can also like try and get it right. It's about education. It's about people being aware of their rights. Oh, Tiwe, I think I can't hear you now. Oh, your mic.
Oh, your
microphone.
Sorry, man. There's background noises, so I was trying to avoid that. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yes. So now, when it comes to the likes of, let's say, for example, DJs. DJs play our songs. Do they get billed? Do they pay something to play our songs? Number one. Number two, any other venue that plays music, besides radio and TV. Obviously, there's other platforms that play, music. Do those people pay? And then lastly, is there a standard way that is there a way that SAMRO traces who is paying, who is not paying? Do I get paid if I'm performing live? Because a lot of people don't know that, when you have performed live and you've performed your music or whatever, whether it's covers or whatever, there's a performance. I think there's a performance fee structured around live performances as well. It's another, I guess, income stream that a lot of people are missing out on, because they're not aware that every time you perform somewhere, there's a form that you need to fill. You need to notify SAMRO. Is it also in case of, let's say, the venue not having been registered, and like what all these three things, as much as it might be three different questions, but somehow I feel that, it's they all add on to an additional income stream that we might not be aware of?
Yeah. No, you're right. They are totally linked. So with live performance, there is a public performance right being exploited there, because one, you're performing to the public, and then two, you exploiting the music, to make money or your business, to benefit your business. So with the DJs are supposed to get a license from SAMRO, which is, I think there's an annual fee to it. There's a way that we calculate the structure and the fees, but there is a DJ license, and basically that would then cover, the works or the songs that they get to play in their set. And also, the gigs that they actually get to perform at. So there's that. There's the DJ license. And then secondly, there's also the license that promoters are also meant to get for live performances. Like your big concerts, all the way down to, your small one-man show. But the promoters are also meant to, make sure that they get a license from SAMRO for that. And thereafter then submit the reports or submit set lists as to which songs were performed at their show. So normally we don't necessarily get song lists from the promoters. That's why we always encourage, the members to also submit their live performance forms, so that we can also then see where did we get income from, so that we can then pay their royalties. So with that, unfortunately, how it works is that if the show is licensed, then you'll get royalties from it when you submit your live performance sheet. But if the show was not licensed, then unfortunately, we are not then able to distribute any royalties because we didn't get any income. But it also helps with, the information and the data helps us to get our licensing team to then follow up and to chase up that promoter with regards to getting a license and educating them, as to why it's important for them to get a license and how it all works and what it means for the creators. With the venues as well, we do license venues as well, from your small restaurants to Shebeens, if we can. We always try, but that whole process is not perfect, because it relies on the user also understanding why it's important for them to have a license. So there's a big educational drive around that. But also we are also engaging with government structures to see how we can actually formalize, this whole licensing process, and also just make it mandatory, for people that actually use music. Something like your liquor license, for instance. If you don't have a liquor license, you're not going to be able to sell alcohol. So we are, engaging in going that route and seeing how that can be done and implemented. But yeah, so far with regards to live performance income stream, that's where our income comes from. And yeah, it's very important for, creators to make sure, if they are performers as well, to make sure that they submit your live performance claims. And it can only be done digitally, because we don't accept paper performance forms anymore, just because we're streamlining the capturing and the processing, because it can get hectic with manually capturing stuff. So we've actually decided the only way we actually process live performance claims is through the portal. So you just need to get on the portal. It's very easy, actually. Get on the portal, you submit your set list, you submit the songs that you've performed at that venue with the venue information and also the show information as well, so that we can see whether the venue is licensed, whether the promoter is licensed, so that we can actually then make sure that we account those royalties to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm watching this conversation right now as a up and coming artist, and I'm finding out for the very first time about this live performance fee that artists get. Um, I've had many shows in the past, but because I didn't know about this setup, I've never registered anything. Is there like an expiry date? Is there like after 12 months, say that performance is not, uh, uh, um, we can't capture it anymore, or we can't accept it anymore, or it doesn't matter how many years ago or how many performances there's been before my discovery about this new information? Can I now go onto the portal and register everything that every single performance that I've had over the years?
Unfortunately, yeah, the rules, around live performances is that there's a period that is set for the distribution.
Okay.
And how the distribution works is that we distribute everything.
Okay.
So that's why it's important to submit within the period, so that we can then include your works in the distribution. If that promoter or that venue is licensed, if we have income for it. There is no, we don't have like a pot that we set aside, monies that we set aside for back claims, unfortunately. So yeah, it's with live performance, it's very important to check on the schedule. So we have a schedule that we publish every financial year for our distributions. So, it's very important to stick to that schedule as a creator, as a member. Always just make sure you're on the pulse with that schedule, because it speaks to when you receive your income. So on the schedule, it will say, it will have the live distribution, it will have the date of payment, and it will also have the cutoff date to basically say that you can't then notify after this date. So also it's very important to note, for instance, you can't, let's say today, you can't submit a claim for tomorrow, So the show needs to happen first. The live performance needs to happen. You need to perform first and then submit your claim. Because then in that way, it says you are sure of what you've performed. As you know, anything can change while you're performing. You can decide to cut from 10 songs to 8 songs, or include a cover version here and there. So yeah, with regards to the rules for live performance, you can't claim for periods that are closed. So normally the periods that are open are, it's normally a 1-year period that you can submit claims for. We always, I think, a year behind or 18 months behind. So yeah, so like right now, for instance, I think you can only, let me see, the live distribution that's coming, I think next month, if I'm not mistaken, that one, the deadline has been closed, because it's for the period July 2018 up until June 2019. So if you've missed that period, you can't claim for it now. You'd have to focus on, anything from July 2019 up until today.
Okay.
So I hope that makes sense.
That it makes a lot of sense. Now we've got about 4 minutes left, and there's so many questions that I still want to ask. But now, with these live performances, do I only notify you if I'm performing my songs, or if I'm known to be, the girl that sings covers at a certain venue to make a living, because obviously, you know, they, let's say restaurants and so forth, they hire, you know, unknown talent that will come and sing, you know, popular songs. Does that, is that inclusive, or is that included when, you know, with this live performance notification, or do I only notify you when I've been performing my songs?
So the responsible thing to do is to notify all the songs that you've performed, whether they are your songs or not. Yeah, so if you're performing a cover version, unfortunately, you are not a rights holder for that song. You know, if it's a Michael Jackson song or a Brenda Fassie song, it's a Brenda Fassie song. It's a Michael Jackson song. So yeah, you would need to, you do have to also include it in your set list, because that's what you actually performed to the public. So yeah, cover versions are definitely included in there. And you can't claim for it as your own work. Yeah. And I think in terms of, you know, improving things, a lot of societies, I mean, are looking into how do we make sure that we've got devices that can actually, you know, track, you know, or monitor, you know, songs that actually get performed at a show or at a certain venue, because then at least then that takes off, you know, the responsibility for people to account. But yeah, that's still, I think the world is still behind with that. So we need great minds that can actually, you know, innovate and create, you know, such technologies for us.
Okay. And then one last question before the end of our conversation, which is not my favorite thing. Because I still feel like I'm learning a lot as well, you know. One last thing is
Yeah,
that
that's good.
we get a lot of young people after this conversation, you know, that will, let's say, post on the comment section and say, but SAMRO, you are not promoting my music. So how is my music supposed to be making money for me? How is the radio? It's an honest question that
Yeah.
comes from somebody who might still not understand. So SAMRO is not a record company, just to confirm, right? SAMRO, therefore, is not responsible for marketing my music. SAMRO does not manage my music career. SAMRO does not do anything outside of collecting royalties on my behalf. Is that correct?
So yeah, I mean, our core, you know, business and our purpose is to administrate. So basically, you know, license and also collect the license fees and then pay out the royalties. So hence, that is the reason why members need to notify their works to us so that we can know how to pay them. Yeah, the whole thing about us, you know, promoting our members' music, hey, it's not what we do, it's not what we are here for, you know. That's another business, that's another form of business, you know. And like you said, we have record labels for that, we have music publishers for that, you know, we have booking agents and whatnots for all of that, managers and so on and so forth. So our core function really and our purpose in the industry is for us to make sure that we get to license properly, we get to collect the income that we've licensed, we then get to pay out properly as well, you know, pay out the royalties properly. I know there's also like misconceptions about us being the what do you call it? Like kind of like, you know, we need to protect rights but actually, when you think about it, we just deal with performance rights, right? So how do we get into a conversation about master rights and all of that and so on and so forth? So although, I mean, we as a strategy, we definitely want to get more involved, you know, in the industry, and unite the industry, you know, and educate. And so we try to do what we can within the space that we are in, but our primary function is to actually just make sure that we collect, we license, we collect, and we pay out correctly. Like that's the main, our main core purpose, you know. But everything else, I mean, we do try and get involved where we can, but that is us going beyond. Your microphone.
I'm so sorry. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Tumi, for making time to chat with us today. I'm really, really hoping that, you know, whoever watches this will be better informed or be in a better position to understand what it is that SAMRO, you know, does, or their role as a collecting society in the South African music industry. So we really appreciate your time. And we're really hoping that people will take this information and kind of make it work for them, you know, like in a sense, you know,
Yeah.
information is out there. It's a matter of you taking responsibility and saying, I want to empower myself so that I do not find myself in a position where I'm exploited or where I'm crying foul, or whatever. So we really, really appreciate your time, and we're hoping that we'll have this conversation again soon after the lockdown, you know, where we can actually just focus on collecting societies and hopefully take it across the country, because there's a lot of young talent outside, you know, Gauteng, outside KZN, that still need to sit down with us and ask you questions in a way that, you know, they'll be able to understand. So thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you for allowing me to share what I know. You know, it's always good to know that you know, there are ways to actually educate, and you are actually providing that platform. Thank you so much for that. And also, if you do get questions, please feel free to send them my way. I will try and answer them where I can. Seeing that, you know, because obviously this is not live, so if you do get questions, I will also just try and keep an eye on the comments section and see if I can respond. But please feel free, you know, to send them my way so that I can then give the appropriate answers. But yeah, Tiwe, thank you so much. This will definitely go a long way.
All right.
It's really a great initiative.
Thank you, Tumi. Have a beautiful Friday afternoon indoors.
Yay, I can now go back to my PJs.
All right, we'll chat soon.
Thanks, Tiwe. Have a great one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.